Join eventually. So yesterday we were talking about antidepressants specifically. We came all the way up to SSRIs. I told you what are TCS and what are the SSRIs. Some examples of SSRIs that I forgot to mention will include fluoxetine, fluoxamine, paroxetine, citalopram. So these four will be enough for you. More than that, you can also add sertraline if you want to. Mechanism of action is pretty much same. It will block reuptake of serotonin. So SSRIs will include fluoxetine, sertraline, paroxetine, and citalopram. Okay, these are fairly easier to remember names. Now, coming back to MAO inhibitors, we are discussing what are MAO inhibitors. I told you MAO or monoamine oxidase is a particular enzyme that can break down your neurotransmitters. So whenever I have MAO inside my neuron, so let's suppose this is a neuron, okay, presynaptic neuron, wherein through one particular gate, let's suppose this is a serotonergic neuron, so you have SERT receptor or SERT gate through which serotonin is coming inside. Right, whenever it comes inside, let's suppose this is the serotonin molecule, it will either get packed into a vesicle or it will get broken down using MAO, monoamine oxidase. This is still where we came from MAU. You can get several other products that I simply termed 1, 2, 3, whatever products you're getting. Basically you're breaking down serotonin or any other neurotransmitter for that matter. Now specifically MAO will metabolize three neurotransmitters. It will break down three specific neurotransmitters. It can break down norepinephrine or noradrenaline. It can break down serotonin as well as dopamine. So these three are more susceptible to the breakdown through MAO enzyme. Now monoamine oxidase occurs in two forms. The enzyme occurs in two forms. When we were studying about what was that, COX, if you remember, when we were studying about cyclooxygenase and aspirin mechanism, I told you that the enzyme COX, cyclooxygenase, occurs in two forms, right? COX-1 and COX-2. Yeah, they were. I told you your what do you call, aspirin and those drugs, non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs. You would only want to inhibit COX-2, not COX-1. That is why you have a particular class called selective COX-2. The same way, यहाँ पर like how COX had two different forms, MAO, that enzyme MAO will have two forms. Okay, monoamine oxidase will occur in two forms. So you have MAOA and MAOB. There are two different forms of monoamine oxidase. Those are MAOA and MAOB. Now, sometimes you can get a non-selective MAO inhibitor, which will what do you call, inhibit both MAOA and MAOB, or they are called MAOIs. Okay, because they are inhibitors, they are called MAOIs. The enzyme that they are inhibiting is MAO, monoamine oxidase. All right, so that enzyme, when it occurs in two different forms, you will have different drugs that is conforming with this. So if I take MAOA inhibitors, you will mainly have, I'll give you one example so it will be easier for you to remember. Meclobamide. Okay, you have other examples as well, एक भी याद रखे तो बस है. And in MAOB you have selegiline. Okay, what these fellows will do is, both of these drugs, they will inhibit the function of this MAO enzyme. If you inhibit the function of MAO enzyme, you will stop the breakdown of your neurotransmitter. I will repeat once again. Here what is happening is, yeah. Here, what is happening is one neurotransmitter. Let's suppose you have a neurotransmitter. After it is performing its normal function, that is conducting nerve impulse and passing down the impulse, it will get taken back inside so that it can be recycled. That is called reuptake. We already know what reuptake is. Once it is going inside, what is happening to this neurotransmitter is, so let's suppose this is that neurotransmitter. Okay. some of these neurotransmitters, let's suppose around 100 neurotransmitters are being absorbed back inside or taken back inside, reuptake. Out of those 100, let's suppose around 60 of them are being repacked. They are packed again into vesicles so that they can be reused. And some of them are being broken down by one particular enzyme called monoamine oxidase, MAO. Now that enzyme, if it is a normal person, it is fine. If it is in a depressed patient or someone who has depression, in those patients we already know that the amount of neurotransmitter present in them is low. So you would want to use as many times as possible, what do you call, you would want to get the same neurotransmitter to be used several times rather than breaking it down. If you already know you have lesser amount of neurotransmitter, you would want to save it as much as possible. This monoamine oxidase, what it will do is it will metabolize your neurotransmitter. So neurotransmitter is also a chemical. This can also get metabolized whenever it is subjected to MAO. Some part of neurotransmitters, let's suppose out of 100 neurotransmitters that are getting reuptake, taken back, 60% are being packed in and 40% are being broken down by MAO. MAO again has two types, MAO-A and MAO-B. What will happen is that neurotransmitter, those 40% of neurotransmitters are lost. You cannot get those neurotransmitters back. So which is a big problem, especially when someone is depressed or someone who has depression. In them there is already deficiency of neurotransmitters. In such a condition, what I can do is I can give a particular type of drug called MAOI. It will inhibit MAO, monoamine oxidase inhibitors बोलते हैं लोगों को. That enzyme itself will occur in two forms. So you can either find MAO-A or you can find MAO-B. MAO inhibitors can be selective or non-selective. Mostly you will get selective type of MAO inhibitors. So meclobemide will inhibit MAO-A and selegiline will inhibit MAO-B. Now one thing you need to remember about MAO is that it is not just present in your brain. It is present in your gut. It will be present in several cells that are present, especially in your GIT. MAO plays a very important role in metabolism of some dietary products, especially tyramine containing dietary products. Tyramine is a special amino acid derivative. Okay, if you take tyrosine, you will be able to get tyramine from that. MAO is responsible for the metabolism and breakdown of that tyramine. I'll get to that in a bit. यहाँ तक समझ में आया what is happening? What is MAO inhibitor doing? It will basically stop this MAO enzyme and it will stop the formation of these metabolites, because of which you can have more amount of neurotransmitter present which can be reused. I hope you understood the mechanism here. We are basically saving as much of neurotransmitters as possible. If you have doubts, please let me know.
Then you repeat again.
Okay. Now, if I have someone who is diagnosed as a depressive patient or who is depressed, ठीक है, chronic depression है वो patient को. In such patients, what I generally see is that I already told you in our topic we are discussing where depressed patients have decreased amount of neurotransmitters, especially noradrenaline, dopamine, and serotonin. ठीक है, point one. Now, in such a condition, what do you call, you would want to increase the number of neurotransmitters or at least save those neurotransmitters from being broken down. For example, let's suppose let's suppose you are sketching, you are an artist and you are drawing, okay, and you have, let's suppose, one bundle of what do you call, two bundles of papers. So let's suppose you have two bundles of 500 papers each. So this is 500 and this is 500. Okay, now on that you are drawing. In this condition, let's suppose the artist has a liberty of using 1000 papers, so he is drawing very freely, meaning even if he gets a couple of papers, let's suppose he's drawing and every what do you call, 3 out of 10 drawings are nice, or 1 out of 10 drawing is nice, and he's retaining, so let's suppose 1 out of the 10 drawing is nice and he's retaining only that one paper and throwing away those 9 papers. I hope you are following the analogy here. I will get to that point. He's throwing away the 9 papers. Okay? Now let's suppose that fellow does not have 1000 papers, he only has 250 papers. Now that fellow already knows that, see, again, you should not waste paper. I'm only giving you an example. Okay, even if you have 1000, you should not waste papers. let's suppose he only has 250 papers at his disposal. This time what he will do is, instead of throwing away those papers, he will simply use an eraser. So he will erase and draw again maybe, or he will try to limit the what you call usage of paper in such a way that he can draw multiple things on a single paper or something like that. I hope you are understanding the analogy here. In depression, something similar will happen where uh, what do you call, in a normal patient, you have enough number of neurotransmitters where your neurotransmitter after getting taken back inside. So in a presynaptic neuron, so this is the presynaptic neuron. Okay. After a neurotransmitter is exocytosed, goes to the second neuron and performs its function, it will be taken back inside. Okay. Once it is taken back inside, most of the neurotransmitters will be repackaged in the sense that they will be reused. They will be packed into vesicles and they'll be reused. Some of those neurotransmitters will be broken down, around 40%. Let's suppose I'm giving you an example. 40% of them are being broken down. That action of breaking down is done by one particular enzyme called monoamine oxidase. Okay, MAO bolte usko. So one second. Monoamine oxidase. Okay. So this enzyme, which is present here, one second, this fellow, okay, this fellow is breaking down neurotransmitters in such a way that they are getting metabolized into different products. It is basically metabolizing your neurotransmitter, some portion of your neurotransmitter. In a normal person, this is fine, who is nice and healthy. In a person who has depression, who you already know has decreased number of neurotransmitters, it can be very, very harmful, because you already don't have enough number of neurotransmitters. Why would you want to break down whatever neurotransmitters you have? So what you can do for treatment is, you can give a drug that will stop this enzyme. If you stop this enzyme, you will be able to save this 40%. No, समझ में आया? The vertical principle behind this, you're trying to save those neurotransmitters from being broken down. Now that enzyme itself will occur in two forms. It can occur as MAOA and MAOB. Sometimes you give non-selective MAO inhibitors wherein they will inhibit both MAOA and MAOB, or you can give selective MAO inhibitors. These are selective. So meclobemide will selectively inhibit only MAOA, and selegiline will inhibit only specifically MAOB. In either case, what will happen is your neurotransmitters will be saved. That is the mechanism. I hope that answers your doubt.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Okay, no problem. Anyone else, any doubts? You can put it in the chat as well if you're not understanding. Cool. So now coming to the metabolism of your MAO. Now there is one thing that you need to remember. One important point is that MAO is not only present in your brain, it is also present in your GIT, and it has one important function in your GIT, which is metabolism of tyramine. Okay, what tyramine does is, tyramine is basically a product that you get from tyrosine. Tyrosine is a amino acid. Okay, now अरे बाबा, okay, एक काम करेंगे था, right? So MAO in GIT helps in vertical, it will help in metabolism of your tyramine or tyramine containing food. Now why is that important? If you are giving antidepressants, specifically MAO antidepressants, in a person along with what you call tyramine containing food, what will happen is there'll be a very particular reaction called cheese reactions. Okay, uska, it is a funny name, yes, but what will happen is, patients who are taking MAO inhibitors and they take tyramine containing food. So tyramine containing food will be cheese, buttermilk, beer, wine, or yeast, or fish. See, generally aged products will contain tyramine, and some other products like yeast or fish as well. Now, the tyramine that they contain is metabolized using MAO. MAO converts tyramine, so I'll just write that down. So tyramine containing food, I already told you. Tyramine is converted into, yeah, into one product. Okay, Now let's suppose we'll just name that product X for now. Okay, and not get into details of that again. तुम लोगों को confusion होता. So MAO is doing that. Monoamine oxidase is helping in metabolizing MAO in gut in GIT is helping in conversion of tyramine to X. Okay, some X product, wherein you will be able to absorb those products and all of that is happening. Now, whenever you give a monoamine oxidase inhibitor, so if you give MAOI, okay, and let's suppose it is specifically a non-selective type, and what happens is I told you now MAO is present in your brain and in your gut. It will not select between which in MAO to inhibit. It will inhibit the MAO in your brain and it will inhibit the MAO in your gut, because of which what will happen is tyramine will not get metabolized. Tyramine stays in your body, so this fellow will not get metabolized. Basically the activity of MAO decreases, or it is almost rendered useless, because of which what happens is, I'll just write it here, tyramine escapes metabolism. Now why is this important? Whenever tyramine is escaping metabolism, the absorption of tyramine directly increases. Instead of getting broken down directly, tyramine itself will be absorbed by your body. So this will lead to absorption of tyramine, increased absorption of tyramine. Increased absorption of tyramine. Increased absorption of tyramine. What tyramine does is, if you consume it, it will displace noradrenaline, especially from your synaptic terminals, from your sympathetic terminals. It will displace noradrenaline. Whenever it is displacing noradrenaline, I'll just write it down here, displaces noradrenaline from sympathetic nerve endings. Whenever it does that, the result will be BP increases. Blood pressure increases to a extent that what do you call, the person might have stroke. Utta BP increase ho jata. So this might almost sometimes lead to, so I'll just write it here, may cause stroke. Okay. To summarize that, I'll repeat once again. What is happening is, let's suppose someone is eating cheese or tyramine containing food. Okay. It can be beer, it can be wine, yeast, fish, or by yeast I mean anything like bread as well. Okay, anything that has yeast, the buttermilk or cheese. In all of those conditions, and suppose a person is eating tyramine containing food. Normally what is happening is MAO is able to metabolize that tyramine, or MAO is metabolizing that tyramine to get some products, XYZ products. Okay, that is fine and all. In case that you are giving a patient MAO inhibitors and you do not tell them don't consume cheese and tyramine containing food, what will happen is, let's suppose one patient who is depressed, he's taking what you call MAO inhibitor and he consumes cheese after that, or he consumes alcohol, beer after that. What will happen is, because MAO is being inhibited, it will get inhibited in your brain, it will get inhibited in your GIT as well. Because of this, tyramine will escape metabolism. That escape of metabolism will cause tyramine to get absorbed directly into your body, and once tyramine is getting absorbed directly into your body, it will displace noradrenaline from sympathetic nerve endings. The cause of this is it will increase overall catecholamine levels. Catecholamines, basically your adrenaline, your dopamine, all of those will increase. Whenever those increase, BP increases, and it will increase at a very alarming rate, to an extent that in some patients you can also have stroke occurring. Okay, it will lead to severe hypertension. So that is why you have to always make sure that whenever you give a patient MAO inhibitor, any MAO inhibitor, you have to advise the patient to not consume any tyramine containing foods. Okay. that is one of the reasons why MAO inhibitors are generally avoided, or at least you have to make sure that the patient is not consuming any tyramine containing foods. But it is harder. Sometime or the other they will what do you call negligently eat bread or something or the other, because yeast is present in so many things nowadays, yeast or buttermilk or cheese. You It is hard. So in that condition, it can be avoided, MAO inhibitors. If you are giving MAO inhibitors, please make sure that you specifically tell the patient to avoid all of those. I hope you understood the mechanism here, what is the importance of tyramine and what is the importance of MAO in the metabolism of tyramine. समझ में आया or should I repeat?
Yes, sir. समझ में आया.
समझ में आया पूरों को? Okay.
समझ में आया सर.
Okay. Now coming to the last class in your antidepressants, these are atypical antidepressants. Not a lot to talk about atypical antidepressants. These are generally a little more advantageous than your normal depressants. ये कब देते हैं बोले तो atypical are given when typical antidepressants are not working as such, especially when TCS are not working. They have fewer side effects. Like specifically, they will not cause sedation. So if I just write advantages, they will have fewer side effects, like almost no sedation and anticholinergic effects, almost no sedation and no anticholinergic effect. Okay, I'll just put it in the bracket. That is one advantage. And other than that, आपको these are safer in overdose. If you by chance increase the dose way too much over the normal level, it can be very safe. Other than that, effective in patients who are not responding to. You will have patients who will not respond to some drugs. Okay, in such conditions, especially TCS, if a patient is not responding to TCS, you can give atypical antidepressants. Now, atypical antidepressants will include trazodone, mianserin, bupropion. Bupropion is a पहले भी आया था. We studied about it in anti-epileptics. You also have metazapine. These three are enough. Now, not a lot to talk about these drugs. You do not have them in detail at least. Trazodone and nefazodone दोनों same रहते हैं. Trazodone is a serotonin antagonist. Okay, initially they were used a lot. They were used extensively at one point of time, but that particular drug was found to cause a lot of sedation. Even though I'm telling that atypical antidepressants will not cause sedation, trazodone specifically used to cause a lot of sedation. So nefazodone was used nowadays. Technically, you do not use trazodone and nefazodone, both of them nowadays. You can use bupropion. It will be a slightly better choice. You also have venlafaxine or metazapine. Metazapine especially very good because it will inhibit several forms of dopamine. It will block 5-HT2, it will block 5-HT3, it will block alpha-1 receptors, and it will enhance the effect of 5-HT, and it will enhance the effect of noradrenaline. So serotonin has several subtypes. It will inhibit some particular types, and it will enhance the effect of one particular type. Okay, it is also very fast acting. Those are some advantages. Bupropion, we already discussed about bupropion in anti-anxiety drugs. It's a very weak dopamine inhibitor. Right? It will have CNS stimulant effects. It will be able to stimulate your CNS. Bupropion is specifically used in smoking. If someone is trying to stop smoking, in those patients, you can give it them with nicotine patch. I'm not sure whether you guys have ever seen someone who is trying to quit smoking or not, or the ads bhi aate na, you see nicotine patches. What they do is they put it on their skin and they leave it on. That will slowly release a drug that is similar to nicotine, but it will not have the same effects. You can use that nicotine patch along with bupropion in patients who are trying to quit smoking. Some disadvantages of bupropion is that it will cause insomnia, it can cause agitation as well. So do not give them in patients who have hypertension or who have mood swings. So that is about your uh, atypical antidepressants. You can use atypical antidepressants in some peculiar conditions as well. So uses of atypical antidepressants will include panic attacks. So if someone is having panic attacks, in PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder, especially in soldiers, in them PTSD is very common. So you can use this. You can use it in OCD, obsessive compulsive disorders, and you can use it in nocturnal enuresis. Nocturnal enuresis. Now, OCD itself is a very big, what do you call, chain of disorders. It is not just one disorder. For example, let's suppose OCD of cleaning. That is pretty common. Common in the sense you will not find a lot of people, but amongst the OCDs, it is pretty common. People who will have a compulsive disorder of cleaning things, especially when they are stressed out. That is one type of OCD, or OCD of keeping things organized. That is one. Or kleptomania. Kleptomaniacs are people who will steal. They have the habit, rather than stealing, they have the habit of picking up random things from the road, or picking up random things. That is one type of OCD. Now, nocturnal enuresis is bedwetting. Involuntary urination or bedwetting को बोलते हैं, nocturnal enuresis. In all of these disorders, you can use atypical antidepressants. Very, very, very good, especially bupropion and amiancerin. All right. So this completes our antidepressants. I hope you understood what is antidepressants. If it is fine, we'll start with anti-mania drugs or mood stabilizers. Okay. Mania is a disorder that is almost the exact opposite of your depression. In a way, यहाँ पर क्या हो रहा? The amount of neurotransmitters that are present are excessive, or their activity is excessive, to put it in another perspective. Now, there are people who have bipolar disorders who will have irregular function of their what do you call, neurotransmitters at some point of time. So in bipolar disorder, you will have phases of depression followed by phases of mania. In those patients, you will see initially a drop in the level of neurotransmitter, or at least a drop in the function of neurotransmitter. Even if they are present, they are not functioning properly. And when they come into mania, they are over functioning, or they are hyperactive. In mania is literally the opposite of your depression. In bipolar disorder, you'll be able to see both of them. That is one particular type of psychiatric disorder. I hope you understood what is mania. Now, आपके mania के drugs में, if you are having doubts, please feel free to stop me. Okay, I'll keep going at this pace, thinking that you are understanding. If you are not understanding, please feel free to stop me and put it in the chat as well. I'll see that. So now, mood stabilizers. There are mainly 5 types of mood stabilizers. Okay, you have lithium, 5 drugs specifically. You have lithium, sodium. Technically, most of these drugs are anti-epileptics. We've discussed this. The new one that we come across is lithium. We'll discuss lithium specifically in this. Sodium valproate, your carbamazepine. Most of them are sodium channel blockers, lamotrigine, and your gabapentin. All of these we've come across in epilepsy anyway. In this specifically, we'll talk about lithium, which is kind of important. Okay, now listen carefully for the mechanism of action, because it can get a little tricky. Now, lithium का क्या है scene? Lithium, its mechanism of action is not completely known. It is a little its mechanism of action is more like hypothesis. We don't clearly know, clear cut nahi hai what is the understanding of the mechanism of action of lithium, but there are a few hypotheses. One popular hypothesis is related to inositol inhibition. So listen carefully. Okay, from here what is happening is, this fellow is specifically responsible for blocking the response from serotonin. So let's suppose I have a serotonin molecule, 5-HT3 molecule. Okay. Now this serotonin, in mania, what is happening is the activity of serotonin or any said neurotransmitter out of dopamine or serotonin or noradrenaline, there is overactivity of that neurotransmitter. Lithium will specifically target serotonin. Now, if I take serotonin, let's suppose imagine a scenario where from your presynaptic neuron, serotonin has been released. It is going to your postsynaptic neuron and it is attaching to a receptor here, right? ये receptor को attach करे. So I'm basically maximizing this part. ठीक है? यहाँ पर focus कर रहा हूँ मैं. Now, let's suppose this is a cell membrane. ठीक है? And थोड़ा छोटा कर देंगे. Let's suppose this is the cell membrane and this is the receptor on which your serotonin is acting. ठीक है, यहाँ पर serotonin आके attach होता. Whenever it is attaching, it will cause one specific type of reaction in your neuron, especially on your cell membrane. What it will do is it will activate one particular enzyme called phospholipase C. PLC बोलते हैं उसको. ठीक है, it is called phospholipase C. Right. This phospholipase C, whenever it is activated, it will go and stimulate one particular enzyme that is present on the surface, a protein actually, that is present on the surface of your cell membrane. It will be attached to your cell membrane. That a particular component is called PIP2, phosphatidyl inositol 4,5-bisphosphate. I'll just put it as PIP2, so that PIP2. Okay, I'll just repeat what is happening. In mania, there is overactivity from your neurotransmitter. Specifically, let's suppose here we are talking about overactivity from your serotonin, meaning that fellow is giving excessive stimulation. So my goal in mania is to decrease the stimulation. Okay, something similar to anxiety, but not exactly the same. That is why यहाँ पर anti-anxiety drugs use कर रहे हैं. ठीक है, if you are wondering why we are using anti-epileptics or anti-anxiety drugs here, we are using because there is excessive stimulation in mania. They will be very helpful. Now these we have already discussed in this thing, anti-epileptics and anti-anxiety drugs. Lithium is a little different. Lithium क्या करता, specifically serotonin की activity को कम करता. How it does that is it will basically, now let's suppose we have a serotonin molecule who is going to your postsynaptic neuron, and on the surface of that postsynaptic neuron it is attaching. Whenever this attachment occurs, it will stimulate one particular enzyme called PLC, phospholipase C. Whenever phospholipase C is activated, this fellow will in turn go and activate PIP2. PIP2 is a very special molecule that is present on the membrane. On the neuronal membrane. It will generally be present on other cell membranes as well, but for now let's suppose it is present on neuronal membrane. I'll just keep it as PIP2 so that it will be easier for you to remember. Whenever PIP2 is activated, what happens is this fellow will break down into two components. It will break down into DAG, okay, and it will break down into diacylglycerol, for those who are wondering what is DAG, and it will break down into IP3. ठीक है, so PIP2 से मेरे को दो components मिल रहे हैं. One is DAG and the other is IP3. DAG in turn will cause a particular reaction on your cell membrane, through which ultimately what will happen is potential is generated, and this IP3 in turn will go to your endoplasmic reticulum, and it will cause a reaction where the components of your endoplasmic reticulum are coming out, and all of that is happening. That is not important for now. What is important is this IP3 is basically called inositol 1,4,5 triphosphate. Usko IP3 bolte. This fellow can be regenerated back into PIP2. Okay? This IP3 will be converted into something called inositol. That inositol is in turn converted into PIP2. Okay? Just to repeat what is happening, यहाँ पर serotonin आ रहा, serotonin is attaching to a receptor here. After it is getting attached, it is stimulating one particular enzyme called phospholipase 2. This enzyme in turn is stimulating one particular protein that is present on the cell membrane of the neuron called PIP2. PIP2, whenever it is stimulated, it will break down into two products, DAG and IP3. IP3 will be converted into inositol, and it can regenerate back into PIP2, so that you get another reaction. Now DAG will go and cause a certain reaction where ultimately it will end up causing a potential to be generated. ठीक है. So the more number of times you have PIP2 being formed, more number of DAG are formed, more potential is occurring from that one molecule of serotonin. ठीक है, यहाँ तक समझ में आ रहा what is happening? I hope you are understanding. This is a little more complex than what you are used to, but I hope you are following. ठीक है, anyway, we have very less amount of time. I'll go over it a little bit